Advocate, your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video. I found a really cool application for this week called Monitorr, with two R's there at the end, and basically this is just an application that lets you check up on web apps and websites and to see whether or not they're up and running, so it's pretty cool. I had actually built one of these myself a couple of years ago called HostUp. This one is a lot nicer looking. It has some pretty cool features in it. It's built in a little bit different way, but Monitorr is pretty cool. I may cover HostUp at some point, but I wanted to cover this one because I really like it. So out there on GitHub, and of course I'll have these links in the description and in the show notes, but it's really nice. So we're going to get into what it looks like, how to install it, how to use it, everything like that here in just a minute. So before we get started on Monitorr, one more piece of housekeeping, and I know you guys are ready to get to this. I am too, but I want to say thank you so much to everybody who subscribes on YouTube, and I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon. It just means so much to me that you guys are out there and supporting my efforts. It keeps me going, and it gives me a really great reason to keep going with these videos every week. So I truly appreciate it, and I hope you're getting a lot out of what I'm doing. Alright, let's get started with Monitorr. This is a pretty cool application, so I'm just going to scroll down and kind of let you check out the screenshots here. So this is kind of a really set up site, but if you have a lot of self-hosted stuff, sometimes you're just wondering, like, is that thing up and running still? And instead of going and like hitting the site constantly or going and trying to hit it and find out, this is kind of a nice little dashboard that you can set up, and believe me, there's tons of tools out there that you can do these kind of things, okay? This is not the only tool that's out there, but I really like the layout. I like what the guys have done that have authored this thing, so it's pretty cool. When you come to this site, basically you just get this whole list of things that are running, and you can see everything that you want to check up on, so you can really customize what these are. And these icons, you can upload your own icons, or you can pick icons that already exist. So really kind of cool. And it just tells you, like, is it up or down? You know, it does ping checking, so that's this little thing in the corner. So if it can ping the thing, if you don't have ping turned off, or if it's not able to ping it for some reason, it might turn red, but it'll let you know if the ping is up, and then it'll tell you the status from the last time that it ran a check, and everything like that. So I mean, I really think it's a really cool project, and I'm excited to show you how to get it installed. So as with most things, I'm going to show you how to do this with Docker, because Docker is awesome, and it makes it super easy to run just any kind of server that you want to, regardless of the hardware that you've got a lot of times. So I just wanted to kind of come out here and show you, and they've got a really nice simple command here, and then they've got some nice explanation of the parameters down here for what you want to do. And if you want to run the NGinX web server, you can, but I would use, personally, if I was going to set it up to run it off of my network, I would use NGinX Proxy Manager to get to it, but I did want to point this out. So I'm just going to copy this command, and I'm going to go to my terminal. Now on my terminal, I'm already logged into my server where I already run a lot of Docker stuff, and here's CTOP just kind of running so you can see all the things that I've got going. So I'm going to quit out of that, and I'm just going to clear the terminal for you. I'm going to paste in that command. Now I don't like it in this format because I can't get up to those top level, I can't get up here to make changes to this command. So without having to retype it all, I do this, and then I just hit Control-C. Now I'm going to hit the up arrow, and you see I get everything, but it's all on one line except for that last line. So I need to put that last line, and Monitorr, there we go. So I've got that part set, and I'm going to go and just pull this back, and I know that I can't use port 80 on the host side. So this is the host, this is the container. So this is just mapping a port. So port on my host machine to the container. You should really never mess with the container side unless you know what you're doing. But on the host side, I know that I can't reach it on port 80, so I'm going to give this like 8011, and that should be an open port on my system. And if I'm not sure, I can go check it in Portainer, or just do Docker PS and see what ports are open, but I think that one's going to be open. So this PUID is something else we need to get, but first I'm going to go back here and just get these spaces out of the way. It probably doesn't hurt to have the spaces there, to be honest, but it just bothers me, so I'm just going to clear them out here. So this time zone we can fix right now for me. This is America/Chicago, I believe should work. And then right here, so this folder that we're going to create, we're going to go through a process to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and type in what I want. And I want this to be /home/Brian/Monitorr/app, which is fine. And then we're just going to get rid of these spaces here. And then restart on failure. Also, I want to change this to restart always is fine. And then that's the name of the container. We can just leave that alone. And then I'm going to change this from create to run-d and put a space right there. So I've got my command here except for a couple of variables that I need to go and fix. Everything should be okay. So I'm just going to highlight this dude, right click and do copy. And then I'm going to do another Control-C out of it. And what I want to do now is actually go get that PID. So I'm going to say cat/etc/passwd. And then I'm going to do pipe. And I'm going to grep for my username. And it tells me that my PID is 1000 and my group is 1000. So I just want to go replace those values in that command right there. So I'm going to paste it back in, and I'm going to come back here to where it says user ID, and I'm going to put in 1000, and the same thing here for group ID. In this case, mine are the same. Yours may be different, so go find them and make sure that you've got the right ones. So again, I'm just going to highlight this and then do a copy, and then I'm going to Control-C. And one more time I need to do an ls, and I'm in my home directory, so I'm going to say make directory -p monitorr/app. So that's what I am creating. So it's home Brian, and then I need this one and this one here. So now if I do ls, I should have the monitor folder right there, and if I cd into it, I should have app, which I do. So great. Alright, so we're pretty much set to run our command. So I'm going to paste that command back in there. Everything should be filled in, so I'm going to double check it one more time. And we'll just go from the beginning here. In fact, let me just clear out the terminal, and we'll try this again from the top. So there we go. So we've got docker run -d, which means run it as a daemon. So once it's up and running, just let it run. I don't have to have the terminal open anymore to keep it running. And then I'm going to name the container monitor, which makes sense. I want it to restart always. And I'm going to create a volume at /home/brian/monitor/app. And that's going to be mapped into the inside of the container at /app, which you should, again, don't change the things that are set for inside the container unless you know what you're doing. And then we have an environment variable for time zone, and I've set mine as America/Chicago. You should set yours appropriately. And then environment variable for my PGID, which I showed you how to look up, and my PUID, which I showed you how to look up. And then a port mapping of my port 8011 on the host to port 80 inside of the container. And then we have the name of the actual image that we want to pull down and run. So that's really it. We're going to just hit enter. We're going to let this thing pull down. It's pretty quick. It doesn't take very long usually to get it pulled all the way down. And it's up, and it should be up and running here in just a second. So we'll give it a second to actually get everything kind of run and ready. But usually this is a good sign. And we can even do our ctop command again, and we should see Monitorr up here, and it is, and it's using up 0%, which means that it's probably running and sitting there idly not doing anything. So we're just going to go back to our browser. We'll open up a new tab, and I will type in the IP address of that server and port 8011. And there it is. It's up and running, and they even start off with a nice little, you're checking Monitorr itself, and you're checking Google, and it tells you kind of right away. So the data directory has not been detected. Proceed to Monitorr Settings, and you see this is a link, so it turns into a little hand. So we're going to click on that link, and it's going to open us up another tab, and it goes to basically /settings.php. So if you want to get there again, you can get to settings.php. And it's telling us, you know, the directory that we need, the data directory for the user database has not been detected. So browse to monitor. So again, monitor registration to create the data directory and or user database. So it's telling us what we need to do. It's kind of walking us through this. So we'll just click. And if we move down, you see that it gives me this little, you can't change this. That's okay. I don't need to change it. That's what I want. So I'm just going to hit this little button here that says create. And it comes down here and it says, okay, it's going to try to create some stuff and copy some JSON files. And then it gives you this form. So I'm going to fill out this form. always make a strong password. I'm going to say register. So it's going to tell me that my user credentials have been created successfully, and I'm going to say okay. So I'm just going to do the login here. I know there's other stuff here. Just click on login here. It's going to take you to the login screen, and then type in your username and the password you just made. And if everything goes correctly, you should get logged in, and this is the screen that you should see. So you're going to see a little bit of information, some different things going on here that it gives you for a readout, and then on the left you've got this menu where you can kind of go through and look at some different things in the settings. So it's got this cool clock, which is nice. Now, I don't know that this is set for my time zone. It's not, because it shows BST. I don't know where that is, but in the settings we can go into user preferences, and right here, so the site title, if you want to change it, you can. Monitorr seems fine. That's what it is. That's what it's working on. Localhost 80 is the site URL, which is fine because it's running in Docker. That's good. I'm just going to leave it alone. The update branch, developer master, I'm just going to leave it on master. That's okay. Develop would be less stable, but if you're working as a developer on it, you'd probably want to see the changes you made. And then registration, enable or disable. So for security, they say you should disable this. So we'll just change that to disable. And then here it's London. That is not the time zone that I want to be in. So I'm just going to go down here to -5, I believe is where I'm at. -6 Central Time, which is great. And then 24-hour time, or do you want 12-hour time? So pick whichever you want. I don't know why it says false and true. And then click on submit when you're done. And it should tell you, hey, we saved them and we're applying the changes. You can just click OK. Next thing is it'll refresh and it'll come back up, and now it has the correct time for Central Daylight Time, which is great. So when you look at Monitorr Settings, there's a whole bunch of little things here that you can kind of set up and do. If it looks kind of messed up, it's because I have it zoomed in for you guys. So if you zoom it back out, it will look much cleaner. But yeah, just be aware it's because I have it zoomed way in for you guys. But there you go. So you've got different things that you can set here inside of the Monitorr Settings, and I'll let you guys kind of dig through those and see what you want to change if you want to change anything. So time sync interval 180,000. So if you click on these things, or if you hover over them, it tells you what this does. It gives you some nice little pop-up text to kind of help you understand. Your ping host is 8.8.8.8. You can change that if you want to. Anyways, you can kind of check out all of these different things, but you know, CPU okay, 75 CPU. So this can let you kind of set up some different limits for things that may say, hey, something's not right. I don't like what that's looking like. So some cool stuff. And anytime you make changes, then hit submit so that you can make sure that you're getting those changes. So again, you can see this is kind of, there you go. So if you want to get the ping host port, you need to zoom out. I'm zoomed in so it gets overlapped. So when you go to services configuration, so this is where it has kind of those default cards that we saw. So Google, so on and so forth. So I don't really care if Google's up or not, so I want to change this to something that is a site that I care about. So I'm going to change this to remote.routemehome.org. And enabled, yes, I do want that. Or this is the title actually, so I can just call this remotely. Maybe. There we go, remotely. And then the google.gif icon here is not the one that I want. So here, if you click on this little button that says images, there's this just tons and tons of images. Now it's not going to have the remotely image, I don't imagine, but if it did, that'd be awesome. But it does have a lot. So the remotely image is very much like this one right here, actually. So I'm just going to highlight this because it's not like click it to pick it. You highlight that and copy. You close this window and you paste it in there. And then you've got the check type, which is standard, and you've got some options, right? Ping only, and then ping RT enabled, disabled, and link enabled, yes or no. So if you don't want it to link whenever you click on the little square, that's okay. And it's telling here's your preview of your image. Great, thank you. And then finally, what is the address that I want it to check? So I'm going to say https://remote.routemehome.org. And I'm just going to highlight and copy the same thing. I mean, I could put :443, but doesn't make much sense. That's what the S is for in the first place. So I'm going to hit copy, and I'm just going to put the same thing here. That's the service URL. So you've got another one right here, as you can see. So this is the one for Monitorr, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to hit submit, and it says it's going to apply and update those changes. And if you just give it a minute, this will go away after it's done saving the changes and doing what it needs to do. I'm going to hit OK. It should refresh here in just a second. There it goes. And there's the actual icon that we picked and everything. So now, if I go back to my Monitorr site and I hit refresh, it's going to come up and it's going to tell me remotely, and it's going to tell me that it is online. But you see the little red on the ping says that it can't. It says error in ping time. So that's probably because of what I did. But then here you can see, so like Monitorr, it's got set up as well. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. Maybe it's just monitor. Maybe I'm giving it too much thought. But here, as far as auto refresh, you can turn that on or off. And then up here you've got actual information about the machine that you're running on. So it's grabbing CPU and information like that off of it. So pretty cool little readout. And it shows that it is online and it is getting ping responses, which is great. So this one's being hosted here locally. These are being hosted, or this, no, sorry, that's my show notes. This one's being hosted here locally at my house, but it shows online. So now let's go turn it off and see what happens. So I'm going to quit out of that, and we'll just do, let's see, yeah, docker stop Trango, and it should be off. So this should change here in a minute if it's actually doing an auto refresh. Now how often it's actually rechecking, I don't know. So just, oh, here we go. Remotely is offline. What? Well, that gave me the wrong title. Remotely is online. I don't know why it picked that name, but there you go. So it shows a little red banner to tell you something's offline, which tells you to look down here, and you see the right one here did turn off and shows offline. So that's interesting. It's a little bug maybe, but there we go. Now I wonder if I refresh if it'll pick up the right thing. Trango, yeah. So now I got the right thing out of, maybe it's something about ordering or something like that, but there you go. So now if I go just start Trango back up, it should come back online here in just a second, and this thing should recheck, and it should be able to tell that it's back online. So let's find out. There we go. So it lit back up. Hopefully this banner goes away on its own here in a minute, but you can see, so pretty nice. It does refresh itself. It does show up and down pretty nicely, which is great. It's really not that long of a wait. What was that, 30, 15, 20 seconds? It wasn't very long. So pretty cool. I really like this. This is Monitorr. Okay, little update. This is interesting. I went back and added the port to these ones that weren't showing the ping. So apparently when you put the port in that first space, that's what lets the actual function work correctly for the ping. So when you're adding that, make sure that here on the settings, you put the port number here at the end for whatever URL it is that you're checking if you want the ping to work. And then down here, you can just put the regular service URL. Alright, so I went through and I set up a bunch of the actual sites that I self-host. So this is a whole host of them. So you can see here I've got 8 and 6, 7, so I've got 15 self-hosted sites here that I run on a couple of different servers. Some of these are in my home server, some of these are out there on a VPS. This still isn't all of them, but this is quite a few of them. The hardest part is if they don't have a logo already in there, you can just go find, just go search Google for logo, whatever the name of it is, logo PNG. And then make sure to pick an actual PNG with some transparency, because it'll look better than if you just stick a blocky thing with a bunch of white. And if it has, like, if you see the image on the Google preview and it has the little grid of squares that looks like it would be transparent, it's not. It's a screenshot, so don't trust that. Click on the ones that have a white background and see if it shows up when you see the actual zoomed in photo with the grid in the background, and that'll tell you it's probably a transparent background. And then you want to make sure it's a PNG. I tried an SVG, it didn't work. So definitely get PNGs if you can. There are some. It does have some GIFs where there's some motion on one of them, which is kind of cool looking. I don't have that actual application running, but I went and found the logos for the ones that I needed and set this up, and it's pretty nice. So once you kind of get going and get on a roll for adding these things, it's pretty quick. And now it's set up. All I got to do is just open it up and look at it once in a while. I'm just going to leave it running on my local system. There's no reason for me to have it running where I can access it from the internet. I can always use a VPN if I need to see it, if I ever get away from the home again after all this is over. But I think it's really awesome. I think it's a pretty cool project. So again, links in the show notes and in the description on how to get to their main GitHub page, as well as their wiki for installing it, and I'll have instructions on the show notes for how I did it and the things that I did. And I may even put a repository up there with some extra logos for all the logos that I pulled down, so that if you guys have some of these that you've gotten from looking at my videos, you'll have easy access to those logos as well. If you like this, I think it's a great tool, especially if you're an IT person who runs a lot of in-house kind of self-hosted stuff, or if you're just a self-hoster who wants to know the status of your sites all the time. There you go, the red banner went away. I think it's a really cool tool, and I hope you guys get a lot of use out of it. If you like this, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.